Hey, it's Michael Fabiano now with Sports Illustrated, and I'm here to help you through this wild fantasy football season. To win in fantasy, you need player rankings you can trust, and ours have received the top 5 accuracy award over the last 3 seasons. Sign up for the all-new SI Fantasy Plus at si.com/fantasy. We even have tools that sync with your leagues and experts who are standing by answering your questions in our premium chat. Sign up for SI Fantasy Plus at si.com/fantasy and win your leagues in 2020. That's si.com/fantasy.
Today's podcast is brought to you by Blue Canary. The bird has landed on beautiful Bainbridge Island, conveniently located at 499 Madison Avenue. ASE Master Technician Clint Ramsey brings over 15 years of experience, award-winning diagnostic skill, and a desire to reinvent the automotive repair experience. Schedule an appointment online at bluecanary.biz or call them today at 206-451-4220.
I'm Maria Metzler, the Executive Director of Helpline House. The global pandemic has affected us all differently. If you or your neighbors need food assistance, mental health counseling, rental assistance, or Parks and Rec vouchers, please reach out. Helpline House can help in many ways. Find us on the web at helplinehouse.org. It's what we do. Neighbor helping neighbor.
I got something for your mind, body, and soul. I got something for your mind, body, and soul.
You have found the B.I.STANDER Podcast. Now here's your host with the most, Tiny Tim.
What's cracking, Podcastville? You found the B.I.STANDER Podcast. Today we're checking out the Seattle Seahawks and giving our preseason predictions with Sports Illustrated Ian Ritchie and author Jonathan Evison. Johnny, how you doing, buddy?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I'm hanging in there.
I'm ready for
congested
real
with
football.
this pollen, but what?
This is the most brutal preseason ever. You couldn't even really read into it, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, usually you got your first against your first for a couple series and then your scrubs against you. You know, at least you can have some sort of relative gauge, but yeah, it's messed up.
I agree. This preseason was a season that I wasn't really paying as much attention to because it wasn't games that I really had an interest in any longer. How'd you feel, Ian?
Well, I thought the third game was fun to watch just because you had a bunch of guys fighting for roster spots. And the only fun thing about preseason is never watching any of the starters. It's maybe getting a rookie, seeing a couple plays here or there, right? So you see how fast they are. You kind of see if they're physical, like you heard, or seen on film or whatever. But when guys are fighting for their roster spots, that's fun to watch. Like, you know what I mean? I mean, they're out there fighting for their life. That guy wants to eat. You know, he's living in his car over in Kirkland, trying to make that team. You know, so like I don't know. I mean, I was watching the 53 pretty close. You know, from that perspective of just guys that I thought showed pretty well and should have a chance. And, you know, Carroll usually responds to that pretty well. The guys that are really good teammates, the guys that work really hard, that were real hungry for that spot, you know? And so I don't know. I was surprised they kept Mannion. I guess coming out of it for me, I thought he would have cleared waivers. I thought that was a spot that he could have given somebody who was more hungry.
Yeah. So, well, he's gone now.
Yeah.
Sean Mannion's gone.
I think they knew that was coming all along. They're just, I think, somebody they knew they were going to break somebody's heart, so they just went ahead and did it.
Yeah. They just
I think they play games with all the roulette of contracts and players and stuff like that, and on the practice squad and off the practice squad. There's a big difference, you know, getting a minimum salary versus a decent contract for sure.
We're going to pay the price this year in certain positions like we always do. And we just hope that the skill guys that we pay a lot are good enough to make up for their mistakes. You know, you hope Wagner is good enough to make up for mistakes at linebacker and the other guys grit and hustle. You hope Jamal Adams blitzing the quarterback cuts down enough time to where it doesn't expose the corners every time.
That's actually one of my biggest fears this season is, Adams has got this idea that he's a weapon and he wants 12 sacks this year. I'm like, I don't want him having more than 5 sacks. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? We've got plenty of pass rush. We need to, he needs to be in coverage and I don't know. We'll see. I'd still say 13-4. I've been right every year, except for 2017 when I said 11-5 and they underachieved and went 9-7, but lost.
Yeah.
Several games.
We're 10
field goals.
Our over under is 10. So the Hawks over under is 10 this year. And the Rams and the Niners are both 10.5. And the Cardinals are 9. So, we got a game bump on the Cardinals and they have us at a half game under those guys. So,
well, they're all wrong. They do this to us every year. Every year, our over under is like 9.5 or 9 or 8. And every year, I mean, I've looked at the schedule 5 times and I'm like, you know what? I think that this team is better than anyone's kind of expecting. I think we all kind of feel uneasy at cornerback but we have so much more depth than we did last year when we were 12-4. I mean, the cornerback thing's a little worrisome, but then again, I mean, Carroll's pretty good with DBs. I'm more concerned with Adams just sort of sticking to playing box safety a little bit more and excelling at that. And
he likes to. He doesn't like to. Like he doesn't like to
either.
Like he likes to sniff out the quarterback. Like he likes to delay, get in there. You know what I mean? And delay blitz and he likes to be that playmaker. I'm not sure he's going to sit back. Like, Earl used to blitz when he was told to blitz, but most of the time sat back and was able to cover sideline to sideline. Whereas Jamal's kind of a torpedo. And last year when we couldn't rush the quarterback, like it was awesome to have him in there and to get in there because it wreaked havoc. But like you said, this year we got better pass rushing. At least we should.
Oh,
and we need a little different role from him. So it'll be interesting to see if he's able to adapt that way where he's not forcing the action like he's used to doing,
Yeah. I mean, I think we got 50 sacks this year. I mean, and that's with nobody in double figures. Yeah. I mean, if you figure like Dunlop's good for 9 and Hyder's good for 7, and then you just start adding it up. Mayoa, the rest of the guys get 4 or 5. Bobby Wagner gets 4. Jamal Adams gets 5, 6. You're over 50 sacks.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Do we have to watch Trey Flowers?
Yeah, I think it's looking that way. I mean, we picked up. I don't.
Sidney Jones was nice. He's a nice solid pickup for us. Like he's not great, but I'll take it. Right? He'll play some good downs for us.
Who's that?
I wonder if we're going to do more man and press coverage this year with the corners. Is what I'm wondering.
Man,
because normally it's just of all the position groups to be just making late pickups, knowing Carroll and his philosophy, it just seems like unless they're going to, remember it used to be, well, we can't bring anybody in until they know the kick step. And like now it's just like, hey, he's 5'8.5", but he's athletic. I mean, so like I just don't – I kind of think we're going to do more man press coverage this year a little. I mean, I'm just – it's just a guess.
I hope so. If Jamal's willing to play some defense in the
here's where I think we get in a little bit of problem playing 2 linebackers and we have an over-eager safety in Jamal Adams. If we press, our backside's exposed for the deep ball. Somebody can get off the line. Your backside's
usually exposed, Tim. So
tell your mom to shut up.
Oh boy. Well, I'll tell you, man, you talk about what you like during the preseason, what you don't like during the preseason. And for me, I was just excited because we were going to have a preseason this year. Right. And then guys start getting injured and I was like, God, do we really need it? Right. I mean, you start losing, not necessarily the Seahawks, but other teams start losing good players. And then you start wondering, do we need it? And then you see J.K. Dobbins go down the other night, a great young player for the Ravens. And I'm like, man, you really start second guessing a lot of the preseason stuff. And why did he have to be in there? Right. Why is he even playing? Right.
I think
certain coaches like to win.
Cody Barton can shine. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what I was going to say. Like that.
Cody Barton needs to look like every year. He's got to look like, God, this guy can play linebacker in this league.
Right. That's exactly.
What about the linebacker on the Seahawks? I forget his name. First play down off the kickoff, no contact, tore his ACL up, and it was just like, that was heartbreaking.
Urban?
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, hey.
The old Husky.
Good player.
What do you think of this Darrell Taylor at Leo thing? Makes me a little uneasy too.
Yeah, me too.
I mean, he's got such great bend. I really like watching him. I mean, he's got more bend than Javion Clowney does. I mean, like watching him come off the edge and bend like that. I'm like, he looks like a great pass rusher, but he's a 280-pound guy that doesn't have a lot of experience in coverage. And I know they want to get him on the field, but like, you know, sometimes I love Pete and John. I always stand by him. I'm always like the homer. I always, you know, nobody else is saying 13.
You are the homer, but a lot of times you're right. So there you have it.
Here's what I think. I think our player development is suspect at times. You know what I mean? Sometimes we're just the smartest guy in the room. I mean, how many times has it ever really worked? I mean, you know, maybe if Marquise Blair is great in the slot, we can say that worked. But like, how many times has it worked with like underwhelming or no, you know, and all it does is sort of sidetrack some poor guy's career, you know?
Yeah.
I think Darrell Taylor's not going to look good at Leo to me. He may be athletic, but I mean, he's not going to bring what a veteran brings to the table in terms of coverages and so we're just kind of crowded. I don't know where all these Smith would have even gone.
We are a victim of our superstars. And that's kind of what we're talking about. Like we have these high priced superstars, right? That we pay a ton of money, and we hope that their strengths mixed with some of these other guys is enough and better than
that's why he likes
two other dudes.
Hungry
guy. You know, over there. And that's always the trade-off. I mean, that's why we sit here with guys and we're sitting here going, oh, what the fuck are we going to get with our offensive line? You know what I mean? Every year we're always worried about the line, you know what I mean? Because we don't spend any money on the line. So it's always a little bit of the same conversation, but it's the trade-off of Russell getting so much money or, you know, or somebody else getting, you know, signed a new contract. And that's kind of how the Seahawks have always done it. And you're right. They've always relied on their scouting and their player development to make up for those holes. And we've always done a good job in those later rounds. And the years when we don't, that's when we struggle because we rely on that. We count on it, you know?
Yeah.
I hate to say
waivers too.
Yeah. I was going to say that, you know, I always look at everything like a fantasy draft, you know?
Mm-hmm. Well, DJ Reed was a great pickup, right? And we got
what's that?
DJ Reed was a great pickup last year for us.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And that was great foresight too. I mean, it was he took a flyer, but it's like, we had to wait 9 weeks or something before he could play. Right. And we're kind of all assuming he's going to be some kind of lockdown corner for us. I hope that's the case. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
we haven't seen him much in preseason. Hey, let's try to be a little bit organized here and start with the quarterback. Because we have millions of thoughts and we could be all over the page and up all day talking about this if we don't. Yeah. I want to start with Russ and the offseason that he had and his comments. I think what has hurt us with his leadership this year is Quandre Diggs and, the left tackle being holdouts. It's your leader has said that I have a deadline. I need to get paid X amount of money. And that kind of starts the status quo for the superstar. Now we have guys under contract that aren't coming out to play because they want more money. And has that set a bad precedent for this club?
I don't think it's a precedent at all, is it? I mean, you know, everybody wants a new contract when they're in their last year of their contract. And honestly, I don't think either of those guys are going to hold out. And I'm betting they both get signed. I don't know if Dwayne Brown's going to get 3 years. They might do something with like 2 years and a third void year or something like that. I don't think there's any way after, you know, the tumult of this offseason, they're going to put Russell out there with, you know, Stone Forsythe at left tackle. I don't care what your scheme is. You know what I mean?
He's a little too big.
You got guys running between his legs. I mean, it's so. I mean, I think it's going to happen. I think it's one of those domino things. Dwayne Brown probably creates cap space, and that, you know, I think
it's a testament to our player development and scouting. We bring guys in undervalued, and they come in for a value for us, and then they overexceed what we're paying them. And then they either can stay with us or they end up going looking for the greener pasture. You know,
Frank Clark.
We've done a great job with that. I mean, Averill was another one. Like we've brought in guys that for a cheap price that they come in and they overachieve. Dwayne Brown's a good example of it. Like he's gonna, you know, if we take him, great, and we're able to re-sign him, awesome. I think we will. Right? Diggs, same thing. It's not like these are guys that we drafted. You know, so I think a lot of times it's a testament to who we bring in and the price.
You can make an argument that Quandre Diggs is the best defensive player on our team last year. Yeah. I mean, he's a ball hawk. Not only is he loves to hit, but I mean, that, you know, he's always around the ball. He had a ton of pass breakups, 5 interceptions in 12 games or something. Yeah. I mean, I think he is undervalued. And if we can get him for $11 million, I think we'd be wise to.
Yep.
Yeah. You think we should commit to him longer term?
I do. The kind of defense we play, we have to.
28?
The kind of defense we play, we need ball hawks. I mean, we need guys that make plays on the ball. I mean, period. That's always kind of been our thing before. We used to play the physical defense. We had the long arms. We had the 6'3" guy, 6'4" with the long arms, and we were always in there. Anybody that's a ball hawk and is on the guy is our kind of defender in the kind of defense we play when we leave them on an island by themselves.
Yeah, especially in center field. I mean, we've tried for, 5 years to replace Earl Thomas.
Oh, God.
He was the key to, our cover 2 defense. Why it was so good is because that guy could go sideline to sideline, and Diggs is the closest thing we've seen.
Yep.
And I think he compares rather well when you add to the fact that they love him in the clubhouse. They almost had when Detroit traded him to us for like a 6th-round pick or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That
was ridiculous.
Mutiny in the Detroit.
That was ridiculous.
Yeah, they had mutiny in the Detroit, locker room because he was so popular.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yep.
Matt Stafford didn't want to be there either. It's certain places you don't want to be, like Houston and Detroit. Those are squads you don't want to play for at this point. Legion of Boom, though, geez, how hard have they fallen? Browner's in prison for a long time.
Gosh.
Richard Sherman's losing his nut domestically. Our safety there, King Earl, is nowhere in the NFL right now.
Yeah,
it's a long way from then. So I'd like to recapture that magic a little bit. Hey, I thought Geno Smith looked really good preseason. That was one guy that to me stood out. Like, he understands the offense beautifully, and he can move and looking sharp with the ball, and he's a good leader. What do you guys think?
Let me ask you both a question. We're 4-1. Russ gets down. He's down for who knows how long. The season, let's say.
Okay.
We rolling with Geno or we trading? Right? I don't think Geno was acceptable. But if we're 4-1 or we're in the hunt, I don't think we're relying on Geno one effing bit. Can he get us through 2 or 3 games? Sure. For that price, $400,000 or $425,000 or whatever he's making.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, I don't think there's any question that we go after somebody, maybe it's a backup, but maybe it's a Nick Foles, maybe it's a whoever, right, to help us make a run if we're 4-1 and he's out for the season. I don't think we rely on Geno. Do you guys see it any differently than that?
Well, yeah.
I just watch preseason football and I see that this guy obviously is a veteran, you know what I mean, versus watching Alex Magoo. Just as far as a decision-making standpoint, I feel all right with Geno coming in the fourth quarter with a 20-point lead and managing the game. I think he can manage the game better than a young quarterback.
Yeah.
But a game manager isn't going to get, no matter what they say about Russ in his first year, a game manager is not going to get us through, especially not with this offense. Yeah, I mean, but geez, who's out there? I mean, maybe Cam Newton still be out there. So I don't even want to think I'm don't either. Shame on you, Ian.
Hey,
you never missed a snap. You can't even. That's taboo, man.
Yeah, man. I'm just saying, because I was watching the same thing, and I was talking to my buddy, he's a Jets fan, right? He's been a Jets fan forever.
Poor guy.
And he's like, I can't believe Geno Smith is still in the league, and we had this exact conversation yesterday. He and I did, and I'm like, well, he's kind of a game. He kind of hangs in there. He's a great teammate. He's really good in the locker room, and all those things are great intangibles for $425,000. Like, that's awesome. But I'm not sure the whole team's riding on him. That's the horse that we're taking.
Yeah, but what team has a second string quarterback that's gonna?
Well, that's what I say.
Whoever has Nick Foles.
like a Foles. There's
whoever
not
Nick
a million
Foles.
guys.
I'm Fitzpatrick, maybe. I mean, wherever he's, I don't know what his situation is.
WTF?
Every year somebody's able to get somebody who's on the outs, and if I'm the Hawks, I have this pretty damn good team that Johnny thinks is going to win 13 games. If all I have to do to maybe shore up 11 of those wins, if Russ goes down, is to maybe grab this dude over here and we'll still make the playoffs, that's our real Achilles heel. I mean, obviously anybody who loses their starting quarterback, you're in trouble. I mean, across the NFL, that's probably true. We're us more so than fucking anybody. I mean,
I think we're better off than most people just because we at least got a guy that's not going to throw 4 interceptions in 4 possessions. You know what I mean? Yeah. He may not get a first down, but he's not going to turn the ball. I mean, I just think he plays the game more like a veteran. I mean, and no, we're not going to win certainly not going to win a playoff game. You're not going to make the playoffs, but I mean, I really can't think of anybody who feel that way.
Would you trade for a Fitzmagic?
Yes, I would.
Right?
I think he's going to have he's in a great situation to be successful this year, though.
Yeah, but he's just, you know what I mean? Look, if he can be the starter for us, he's the starter for the Redskins, and all of a sudden they're halfway through and they're fucking 2-3 or they're 3-2, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, at that point, if we need a quarterback, sure. But that's going to be a pretty rough transition, bringing him in, having to learn Waldron's, intricate system, you know. I mean, what do they say? The illusion of complexity or whatever. It's still complexity if you're a quarterback. That's when I watch Russ play, or I watch the top 5 or 6 quarterbacks in our league play, and then I watch everybody else. I see what a huge chasm there is, and how much of it is really mental. Like, I mean, we can all agree that Tom Brady is not the most giftedly athletic quarterback in any way, shape, or form, but he knows defenses, and he knows he doesn't let his ego get in the way, in the sense that he will take what the defense gives him every time. I sometimes even worry about Russ in this respect. We have a new system which is supposed to have all these out routes and all these short and medium options. I still can imagine a world where Russ holds the ball too long because he's just sure he can hit that home run. Yeah, that's open. Because we've all seen so many open receivers in the past that he just passes on. And for a while we're like, does he not see him because he's 5'11" or, right. But I honestly think it's because, I think he's an elite quarterback, but the only time we've seen him really get rid of the ball fast was 2015. And that's because he didn't want to get injured. He was scared. You know what I mean? You could see him. He was rabbit scared. He did a beautiful job. I think that's a little different than going through your progressions, and you know what I mean? I think he was looking to dump the ball off right away. I still think he's looking for a home run, and I hope that we can fully implement Waldron's system to the best of its potential, and Russ has to be all in on that. You know what I mean?
And I think he needs to operate outside the pocket. You talk about vision and height and all that stuff. If you get a guy like Forsythe as a left tackle and he's 8'10", Russ is going to see much behind his big butt, so he's got to get outside the tackles a little bit to operate.
Every year it gets tougher for him because he gets slower, right? The competition still stays fast. They have young linebackers, young D linemen. He's had a tougher and tougher time on running even the read options. You used to see him get that read option. He'd be able to get outside. He doesn't get outside anymore unless they just bite, hook, line, and sinker. He has a tougher time outrunning those guys to the outside now, and they contain him a lot better, which is why I think this offense is a good fit for him. A lot of the big plays he's made in the past have been outside the pocket, and that's his game. It's just getting a little tougher each year for him to get outside the pocket because he is getting a little slower each year.
But to the read option thing, he used to keep the football too. You know what I mean? He used to sell it. This is underrated. He used to sell it where I'm watching TV and I'm going, did he keep it or did he? Yeah. And now it's just, he's just phoning it in. I swear to God, I don't bite, as a fan, I'm on the couch. Like that was not, why bother if you're just going to, right. I think he needs to use his legs still. I think that if he doesn't use it, he does in emergencies, but I think we ought to do safe designed runs at time just to really keep him honest. I know he's not fast, but theoretically he's smarter. He's going to be able to see gaps sooner. He's going to understand the team and be able to anticipate where there's going to be an opportunity better. Even with just the defensive alignment at the line of scrimmage to audible something. I know it's a professional decision. I know we don't want him to get hurt, but he's so good at not getting hurt. Just once in a while. I'm not saying, I'm not talking about running him like Lamar Jackson in any way, shape, or form, or Cam Newton. But I've just noticed that, out of 12 read options, he doesn't keep one anymore.
Right. He didn't like to give it. Yeah, I hear you. And there's something to be said about being
4. Nobody knew what to do. Everybody's back on their heels. Is he going to keep now? Right. Everyone. I don't even think anyone.
It's not an option.
It's right, which takes something away from us. But I think that being mobile inside the pocket is underrated too. And I think that there's a lot he can do that way too, without having to outrun somebody to the outside, where he's just mobile inside the pocket. You see guys like Brady or Rodgers, and who are who aren't the most mobile guys, but they understand how to step up in the pocket, step to the side in the pocket, buy themselves that extra second or half second. And it separates those quarterbacks when they get older, because the guys that can figure out how to do that when they're older can still be successful. And the ones that can't, those are the ones that are done earlier, Right.
And to Russ's credit, we've watched him learn that. He wasn't good in 2012 at stepping up in the pocket. His pocket awareness has gotten better.
A lot better. Yep.
Much better. His first impulse used to be to run, you know what I mean? Or just get out of the pocket. But so I have confidence. That's the one thing I worry about, is that just him. I want to see them I want to see death by 1,000 paperbacks 3 or 4 drives a game, 1,000 paper cuts 3 or 4 times a game. You know what I mean? I do want to see him just march down the field with
whoa. What was that movie? That was Kevin Spacey.
You don't get to just run by death by 1,000 paperbacks. You don't.
I don't even know what that's like. Thank God I've never had a book remaindered. That's what they do when your books are remaindered. They actually destroy them.
Your book doesn't sell. It's death by 1,000 paperbacks. I never got one myself after 7 books and all these years. I've never got one, thank God. But usually they send you a note that says, listen, we're letting your book go out of print and expire. We still have 7,000 copies. Do you want to buy them for 10 cents each? I've never got that letter, thank God. Yeah, that's funny.
That's by 1,000 paperbacks. Yeah. That's not Freudian.
Yeah, I know.
But you know what I mean? I really want to see the offense operate so that we really can hit those home runs. I just keep having this nightmare where it's like Russ is going through the progressions and passing on the shorter stuff because he's still convinced he's going to get DK or Tyler over the top, and he's going to lose the opportunities, and we're going to be right back where we started. But obviously I'm betting that he's not going to do that because I do believe 13-4, and I know everyone thinks I'm crazy, but they thought I was crazy when I said 12-4 last year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think we got rid of Alex Magoo because of his off-field bar fight, or is it because he's blind and playing a character of Mr. Magoo?
4 turnovers in 4 possessions was a pretty persuasive argument.
Yeah.
So Shane Waldron brought in Sean Mannion, and he looked okay. You know, nothing horrible about him, but how does he make this roster? Is it just strictly as a practice player for pretending he's a quarterback of the other team?
I think he would have passed. I think he would have cleared waivers. I think ultimately we need to sign a veteran receiver. We only have 4 in the roster. I think we're going to sign somebody, hopefully a John Brown who's available now.
Hey, David Moore was released.
He was, yeah. So there you go, right? So
knows the system. He was already our number 3.
Right. I mean, right. So I think Mannion's a guy that I think they hold out as a chip that they can use that roster spot potentially. Because keeping 4 means we have to sign another receiver. And so that's a good call on Moore. I mean, that's a great example. Bring him back in. He already knows the system, and now he's, and he's now our 5th receiver. And I think that would make a lot of sense. But I'm just, the thing with Manning
probably our 7th receiver when you work in the running backs and the tight ends.
Yeah, right. But the thing with Manning is that he knows the offense so well. And as Waldron's trying to teach the other guys the offense, you have another guy that can help explain things. You know, if Mannion's over there talking to the receivers about it or the tight ends about some sort of play call or something like that, it's almost like having another guy that's been in that offense before that can help you coach that offense to the rest of the team. And I think there's some comfort with that. But I mean, I was really surprised he made the cut and that we only kept 4 receivers.
Well, some people thought he looked better than Geno. So who knows?
Yeah, well,
I'm not an expert, but
I don't know. I could look good handing the football off or throwing it in the flat, checking down into the flat 7 yards behind the line of scrimmage. I could do that.
Yeah.
Once or twice before they pulverized me.
Yeah. Before you throw 4 picks.
Excuse me 1 second. Okay.
Well, everything's been good, Johnny?
Everything's been great, man. I got I've been really busy. I got 2 books come out, and I'm in the middle of the period between 2 books coming out in 7 months.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds like a good thing. It's actually a terrible thing. They're going to, the first one kind of got cannibalized, but I had no choice because I moved to Penguin so.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yeah. So it's a different publisher and they're giving me a huge rollout for the next book. So it should take me to a whole nother level. One would hope. It's kind of a bummer for the last book. I mean, it's critically well received and everything, but like what happens is I couldn't get the national coverage I usually get for this book because it's all going to get hogged up by the next book.
Right. You know, all I heard in all of that, the register ringing. That's all. That's the only thing that I heard in all of that conversation was a register ringing. Cha-ching. Cha-ching.
Well, it's probably the mini mart where I'm lining up to buy tall boys, dude. It ain't that bright. I'm a big fish in a small pond, man. Name me 3 friends. You have 3. Can you name 3 friends that bought a book within the last year? Yeah, me neither. Nobody buys them.
My kid Dallas, he buys anime books.
Yeah, not many. It's hard to sell books. I'm doing all right. I feel very lucky.
Yeah.
But, when we talk about free agents in football,
Yeah.
I'm just like, Jesus.
I think books are kind of like wax. Nobody buys a record anymore, and everybody reads a book online somehow. It's tough.
We still sell a few fantasy mags, but not many.
Yeah, those fantasy mags are thick, but they're all the same information, just last.
Well, yeah, because they put it out and they make it all the same because they all have to put the information in March. So when you're putting it in March, so they can print the thing in April, right, to put it out in May or June, whatever. A couple months later, it's like it makes it really impossible. It's pretty ridiculous. Well, and then there's a friend of mine has 5 different fantasy magazines he puts out, and a lot of it's the same material. It's just kind of jumbled around and mixed up, and so
changed to chapters. Chapter 3 is now chapter 2.
Yeah, exactly. Right. You start this guy first instead of fourth, and you kind of jumble the order of the guys.
Well, you must be going nuts too every time somebody asks you to get into a fantasy game and have your pick on a national stage or something.
Yeah. It's like, so on Friday I'm doing I have some interviews set up where I'm doing some stuff on TV. Usually I do a bunch of TV stuff with right before drafts or the last weekend of drafts. And I'm doing a couple in Vegas and I have one on Friday in Vegas, and I have to actually do a draft review of their draft. So they sent me, the Fox 5 team sent me their draft board. Okay. Their whole newsroom and everybody's, and they sent me the draft board and with no names. And so I'm supposed to do a draft review of who has the best team, who has the worst team. And then I go on their show on Friday morning, and I have to disclose who I think has the best team and who has the worst team and what they all need to do. And, for all I know, I'm telling the dude who I'm talking to, he has the worst team of anybody in the drafts and how terrible it was, So I do a lot of that kind of stuff, where I do draft reviews, or they want me to be in a draft and then they want me to do a review of it after the draft and that kind of stuff. It's fun. But there's just really a lot of noise in the fantasy industry, a lot of noise. And so the tricky part is not to be influenced by people that don't have a track record of winning or being accurate. Right. Because, any clown can sit and listen to Matthew Berry or Field Yates, on ESPN. But the reality is those guys don't have a clue. They're terrible fantasy players. They've never won a league in their lives. They may have won the ESPN league or whatever. But honestly, like when they've played in the world championships or other ones, they lose. It's just, so there's just lots and lots of noise. So I always make the comment that all experts aren't created equal. Right.
I would be terrible. I'm terrible. I just negotiated a deal for myself this morning and I was terrible. I'm horrible,
really?
Man. Yeah. I'm good at predicting real football, but I just tell you what, man.
You should get on and use our trade calculator.
I'm done, man. I need a guy. I need your brain to negotiate. I'm just terrible.
You got to use our trade. We have things like we built like little tools to make it easy for you. Right. So we have a trade calculator. So yeah, it's hard for you to figure out. So you put in the trade calculator, and whether it's a dynasty league or a 1-year league and a redraft, whatever, you put the names in the dynasty or in the trade calculator, and it tells you who's getting the better value.
Yeah. I just always go with the eye test. I watch players play and I like them. You know what I mean? With baseball, I was pretty good at fantasy baseball because it was all about stats for me anyway.
Oh yeah.
Baseball was just more statistically with fantasy, man, I just don't like. I never caught on to the football thing.
Yeah.
I just, cause
you want to hear something amazing about baseball? So about fantasy baseball. So there's lots and lots of really high-end data companies that do lots of baseball stuff. Right. And they sell the data and they sell all the information and spray charts and data on the pitchers and the hitters to all the teams, right. Whether it be MLB teams or college teams or whatever. And it's all cool stats and everything, and you get to look at it and everything. What is unbelievable to me is we keep all of our stats on an app called Game Changer. Game Changer's for youth baseball, right? Little League, youth baseball, and youth select baseball. Okay. The number of data points that they create based on you inputting, it's basically a digital scorebook. Ground out to the shortstop on a fastball, right? Fly out to center field on a curveball, right? And so it tracks what the hitter does. It tracks what they do on certain counts. It tracks what the pitcher does. Like, dude, it spits out the most unbelievable stats that are better than so many of the analytics companies that are doing it for baseball and selling the information to teams. I can literally give them so much more information. I showed some of our guys in our office this, and they couldn't believe all the information I could get on everything from swing and miss percentage to first strike percentage to your batting average on fastballs to your batting average on sliders to, literally everything. It's unbelievable. And it's all from Game Changer, a youth baseball app.
And you realize that the guys that are great at the game also, like the greatest hitters in the game, for instance, like Ted Williams or Tony Gwynn or Edgar, they got all that stuff mentally, only with their own at-bats. But like the stories about Ted Williams, he struck me out in 1951. It was 2-2 pitch. It was a slider going away. It was a March 7th. It was a spring training game. I mean, it's like it's not. It really is tendencies, as you know, as an athlete. You know, knowing the opponent's tendencies is so huge. That's why so much of quarterbacking is mental. It's just being able to recognize tendency. And you see these athletic quarterbacks that are 6'5" that come out of college where they look great because, you know, they're bigger and better and more athletic than all the guys they play with. They get in that professional league and they don't have that mental. I think it's an underrated aspect of all athletics. Even
it's
hard.
Boxing.
I mean, you know,
people are either here. One thing I've noticed from all the athletes I've been around, and there's tons of D1 guys, tons of guys that are getting drafted, and it's funny. Some guys are just good enough to not care. And when I say not care, I don't mean not practice. I just mean not be intellectually curious, to always get better, right? And they're just naturally damn good. They have amazing hands. I mean, it's just, you're like, oh man, it's just not fair. And you can count those guys in one hand in each class, high school class. And then all the other people, the ones that are intellectually curious, thrive. And every year they continue to get better and better and better and better. And the ones that just continue to play continue to be raw. They never get developed fully because they're not intellectually curious at their core. It's really interesting. And so, you know, the guys that are always trying new stuff in real time, they're not afraid to fail. They're not afraid to learn new things, to ask another pitcher about their grip on a changeup, right? Or how you throw this, or how you like to set somebody up. And they're always trying to dig around in this quest to get better and smarter, like you're talking about on the football field. And no position other than quarterback, right, on the field, receiver, same way, reading the defense in real time and being on the same page with your quarterback who's reading the same thing. It's fascinating. And the players that are willing to open their brain and be massively intellectually curious, they thrive. And quarterbacks that aren't, and you look at it, and look, they do that test. What are they? The Wonderlic test or whatever. Yeah. I don't know if that's accurate. I think that's, you know, it's kind of, but you know what? That doesn't mean all kind of testing is bad. And it's interesting to know. And that'd be one of the criteria I'd have if I was a GM and I was drafting a quarterback coming in, would be to try and figure out from their coaches and their teammates, what is the level of intellectual curiosity that this person has? Because it's one thing. Yeah, I'm going to study the playbook. Well, that's freaking great. But you know what? The plays break down halfway through all the time. And you better have an idea or an understanding and be able to ask questions to understand how to adapt to that in real time. And if you don't, you're going to be Jamarcus Russell.
Yeah, no, it's true. And I mean, we apply it to everything else. We apply it to actors and artists and writers, and, you know, the same thing applies. Those that don't push themselves, who aren't trying to get better each time out, those that have success with one book and then they try to follow it up with the same book and it doesn't, you know what I mean? You gotta, but it's an underrated part of athleticism, I think. And we were talking about it earlier when we were talking about quarterbacks. It's just that, to me, that's the ultimate demarcation line of the elite quarterback, is how well, you know, how much better are they their fifth year in the league than their first year in the league, and how we've watched Russ evolve, and that's why I love him, because he's shown this ability to grow and adapt. And
the play breaks down, right? It just breaks down all the time. And when it breaks down, how do you adapt? What do you do? Look at Aaron Rodgers.
We call
it's the same kind of thing. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's the play is going to break down, and the smart guys, and Russell is a smart, intellectually curious guy. He's always trying to get better and learn, and that's why he's able to ad lib plays. He knows in his head, if I break outside the pocket and my first, second, and third read aren't open, and it turns into a recess play, I got a 40% chance to probably throw a touchdown here.
Yeah, because he goes over that. You know, I mean, he works on that with the receivers. I mean, they do
awesome.
breakdown drills constantly.
Yeah.
That's why I think Fitzmagic's had such a long career, because he's always on a poor team. He scored the highest Wonderlic test of all time, and he's always running for his life, and the play is always breaking down. Yep. And yet, I don't know if you saw that play last year when his helmet was just turned completely around, and he still threw a dime like 40 yards down the field just because mentally he was checked in so well.
Yep.
He's a magnificent bastard. I love him, man. I love him. He's
handsome man.
He's just, you can't not love the guy. I mean,
yeah. Well, he plays with heart. You take that brain and you play with that kind of heart. Like, I mean, he's a great guy to have in the locker room. That's why, like, a guy like that as a backup quarterback or somebody else, like in your locker room, is just invaluable. And he always comes in. He's the kind of guy that comes in. If he's here for 4 games, you're going to go 3-1. Like, he's lightning in a bottle. Yeah. Now, the next 3 you may lose because, people start doing, because he starts kind of evening out. But, like, he's lightning in a bottle that way. He comes in and he'll save you in the fourth quarter or third quarter if your team's down or if your quarterback gets hurt. And, I just love guys like that.
Me too. There's not very many of them. I mean, most starting quarterbacks can't do that.
Nope.
Already. You know what I mean? That's what I mean.
Yeah.
There's just so few good quarterbacks. There really are. That's what I realized. You watch football, you watch Kirk Cousins and, his stats look okay, but you realize in a way he's just a game manager.
Yeah.
The more I watch him, I realize that he can't carry a team on his back.
Nope.
He could put up numbers that look like Russ's, but when you watch him play the football game, it's just,
Shout out to the best, of the best there is Alex Smith, coming back from injury, and he is the best game manager I've seen in the NFL.
He was great. Trent Dilfer was great. He got a Super Bowl out of it, an MVP out of it.
See Dilfer the other day yelling at his kids, sit down.
Yeah.
I watched his podcast. I didn't know about the yelling at the kids, but I watched his quarterback podcast with Troy Aikman, and man, he had his head so far up Troy Aikman's butt, man. It was Troy Aikman was just eating it up, man. I could stay longer. Aikman would have done that podcast all day long. Dilfer was just brown-nosing him.
So we got a new offensive coordinator from the Rams in Waldron, and a big part of that was bringing over Gerald Everett in the tight ends. I thought we would be gearing up to running 2 tight end system a little bit more often, not so much a third receiver, let alone, having 5 or 6 receivers. I thought tight end would be a bigger part of the game, but it doesn't seem like it is preseason wise. And then I look at the quality of players. Will Dissly is really good, but he's had a history of, being injured a lot. And Colby Parkinson is another one of these guys that gets drafted and we never see him play for the first couple of years. And we don't know what we have in him. And
we seem to perennially want to play. We talk a big game about we're going to really get the tight ends involved, but it just never really happens. Even with Jimmy Graham, it was not like what we all had hoped.
Right.
I think, what is it, the 12 personnel where you got the 2 tight ends? I mean, I would expect to see that a lot this year.
Yeah, especially if we're going back to running the ball a little bit more, And then
I could see
running the ball, why don't we have a fullback?
I could see a lot of Everett lines of 4 for 28, right? 5 for 34, right? Like these little 6-yard dumpers, these little flare routes. I do think we're going to have a lot of 2 tight end sets. I think it's going to be a package we utilize a lot more and more. I think there's a reason we kept 5 running backs. We're going to pound the ball. We've always run the ball well and we pass off it, which is good. Obviously our receivers are really good. We're going to run a fly sweep a lot with Eskridge, I think. Probably not a lot, but it's something we're going to add to our game now. And I think that he's going to be really good with that. From our 3 receiver sets, but I think we'll run a lot of 2 receiver sets. I think that a lot of guys will cover Everett, leave Dissly open. Dissly's a hell of a blocker. And if we want to run the football,
NCAA the year he came out.
That's right. And if we want to run the football and you have 2 tight ends in there and both of them are receiving threats as well, and you have Lockett on one side with Metcalf on the other, I mean, that's pretty tough to defend. I don't know what you're going to do. We got Carson in the backfield. Mm-hmm. So, there's a reason we took 5 backs, and I think it's so we can pound the football, really pound the football this year. And I'm looking forward to it. So I'd be surprised if we didn't go a lot of two tight end sets.
Yeah. And also, we kind of learned our lesson about running back depth last year hard, it was so brutal at the end. Yep. Pro-size, Penny, it just like dominoes, they fell. And let's
talk about Penny.
Yeah.
I still believe in him. I feel like he's been playing scared.
He's pro-size 2.0.
Dynamic. I love his lateral movement. I think he's explosive. I think he could condition better, but I'm a fat middle-aged alcoholic, so what do I know? I think Alex Collins at this point has earned the backup role. I mean,
I agree with that.
But I still believe I've seen enough flashes of Penny. I just feel like if he didn't first, he just got injured. And now he just looks like he's running scared and indecisive. You've got an opinion. I want to know it, Ian. What is it?
Oh, I'm with you. Look, I think Alex Collins outplayed him. right? And Penny was breaking runs before he got hurt as kind of a pudgy dude, and he just never looked in shape. And so, the one thing you can gauge on other than preseason work, which is kind of up and down depending on who's blocking for you and what the call is, did you come in ready to play? And supposedly this year his weight's down to what it was, when he got to college. And so he's playing at a lighter weight. So that tells you that he knows it's his last gasp of an attempt here.
He was a first
round
round pick,
I'm just interested to see how the whole thing plays out, because like you, look, Alex Collins outplayed him, but Alex Collins has played enough to know that we know what Alex Collins is.
Right. I mean, Penny still has the higher ceiling. Right? Fair to say Penny still has the higher ceiling?
Yes. Yeah, we know what Alex Collins is. Collins is a good serviceable back. He gives you a good spark when his legs are fresh. If he's able to sit on the bench and come in around the end of the year, when his legs are fresh and everybody else is getting a little tired and digged up, he'll be really effective. I hope they give Penny a chance. I mean, I really do. How would the
backfield of Chris Carson and Nick Chubb look?
Yeah.
That's the only thing, man. For Rashard Penny's forever going to be, we could have Chubb right now.
That's amazingly poor decision we made.
Well, I think
the funny thing is Chubb runs exactly. I mean, he's so much more than Marshawn, between the tackles, north to south runner. And that's what they were saying. Well, Penny broke all these tackles.
Right.
I mean, I like the way Penny runs. I love to watch a running back run like that. But that was just another weird, let's overthink it draft choice.
Right. They kept promoting the fact that he was a great kick returner too. And I'm like, you take a dude in the first round, he's not going to return kicks. Like, can we stop talking about him being a good kick returner? It's so irrelevant. Like, it doesn't matter. The question is he going to be able to, carry the load for us? I mean, look, the way Carson runs, and I love the way he freaking runs. I mean, he's lowering that shoulder. He's getting what he can, but he's going to get hurt, right?
12 games. Yeah. What do you think?
There'll be games
over under on Chris Carson, 12 games this year?
Yeah, that's exactly. I mean, if we got 12 games out of him, I'd be ecstatic. I mean, to be honest. So
that's what I expect.
So then after those 12, are you going to split it with Penny and Collins? Is DJ Dallas, or is he going to get a lot more action? He's going to be every third down. It
all depends on third down. I mean, I saw Travis Homer last year, and he would be just side by side with Russell on a throwing down short distance. Russ would have a hard time finding somebody, and a big old lineman or a linebacker would come in there full heat, and Travis was just standing straight up, and he didn't move. And he's a small guy, but he has got some strength and power in him. He's the guy that's going to protect Wilson on third down passing plays, I believe. Alex Collins, though, looks super fit right now, and his feet are so much faster than I remember. I mean, I saw his feet just chopping down, and working really
his
well.
Hands look better too. I mean, he did a good job catching the football too. If you would have asked me before this preseason, I didn't really think of Alex Collins catching the ball out of the backfield much. I thought of him just running between the tackles more. But he did show some dynamism, I think, this year. And I mean, I think he looks like a guy who's learning stuff. You know what I mean? That's kind of exciting.
It's funny to think that, in my opinion, it's one of our deepest positions. Obviously, we kept 5 guys, but I feel good about the number of the talent that we have there. But it's also, I feel like if Carson goes down, it's also our most unsettled position. Right. Like there's more questions around it than other spots, just because we did keep 5 guys. They can all look like they can contribute. And I'm with you with Collins, man. He came in, and if you'd asked me before the preseason, I'd have been like, well, he's a pretty good player, but he'll probably be the odd man out. I mean, they don't expect much out of Homer, but he's pretty good. And they like DJ Dallas a lot. But he came in and he earned that spot. And they would absolutely earn that spot. And the way Carroll normally operates is he rewards that guy that earns that spot with a little bit of action in the games to see how he'll do. But if they don't really test out Penny, if they don't really test him out, then we're shorting him. Like you got to give him a shot.
Every running back, to your point, every running back will tell you it's about rhythm. I just need enough characters to find my rhythm and find my step. And if we're going to try to, Carroll will be like, well, we're just going to do it by committee and see who shows. Nobody's going to get in a rhythm. You know what I mean? It's like, I think it needs to be more hierarchical. I think that's kind of what you're getting at. Let's just let's do it hierarchical. So at least whoever's next in line, next man up, is getting enough carries to really get a rhythm and get their confidence and get some reps.
I think you can make a case for all of them being third down backs at certain points, because if you keep bringing in Travis Homer on third down and short, you know what the play is. It's very predictable. We kept 6 sure. If you count the hybrid linebacker / fullback and Nick Valor.
Nick Valor is like the luckiest guy in football, though, right? Isn't he? Never has to compete. And now he's on playing both sides of the ball.
And special teams.
Paycheck. He never gets cut. There's never any. They don't even bring. I mean, when Trey Madden was the last time we even had a competition for him that I can remember.
He's made himself very valuable.
Yeah, I mean, and obviously he's a good teammate and he's great on special teams.
Yeah.
But there's sometimes you look at that roster spot and you're like, well, I love a fullback, but geez, we don't really use him. You know what I mean?
Right. Not since Mike.
If I want a fullback, give me John L. Williams, man. I want, you know what I mean? Let's go with that wishbone, or you know what I mean? I would really love to see. I mean, Carroll likes to reinvent things and change. They've done it several times already, change tendencies. I mean, why not bring back the fullback? If you're going to pound the rock, it makes more sense. You got all these tight ends that are better receivers than blockers besides Disley. Yeah. You know what I mean? It makes a lot of sense to me to use your fullback a little more. I thought we should have picked up Marshawn and made a fullback on him.
Oh, that'd be great.
He loves to block. He looked at it as a personal affront if somebody's going to try to get past him. And he's got the stockier body. You don't have to be as fast. You just got to be quick. I always thought that would have been a great experiment. Like those years we picked him up, it's like, why not just make a fullback out of him, man?
Right. God,
I like
can you imagine
2-back systems, for whatever reason. You can disguise a lot of things out of it. I don't know how old John L. Williams is right now, though, so I don't think we can call him up for that spot.
About Brady's age.
Yeah.
I got to be older than that.
Yeah,
I know.
Definitely. John L. was great.
Yeah.
So we got four receivers, all really good. Were you guys surprised that Penny Hart got cut loose?
Well, I think we all know he'll make the practice squad, so I wasn't shocked. I mean, but I also I fully expect him to be on the practice squad or even possibly back on the roster at some point.
Yeah. I was surprised only because originally I tied it with the Mannion. I thought to myself, well, how does Mannion make the roster and he doesn't, right? He's valuable in special teams and he can do other things. But, at the same time, then as I thought it through, I thought, you know what, they're going to bring in a veteran wide receiver. They have better opportunities if you want a wide receiver that can actually contribute. They'll bring somebody else in and then we'll kind of see. And like Johnny said, we'll get him on the practice squad. In looking at it with some of the guys that made it, I was surprised. But looking at the bigger picture, if we bring guys in, I'm not.
You know how Pete is. It's back to the reward system. Penny Hart's been great for what? He was with us the past 2 years, right?
Yeah.
And he's flashed in preseason. He's worked his butt off on the practice squad. He's been on the roster. Yep. Releasing him early is maybe doing him a favor. When you get down to this time of year, it almost seems like every day is, they gave him a chance to shine and they gave him a chance to shine in preseason. I mean, he got quite a few reps, right? I didn't watch as much as I should have. So they showcased him a little, right? And then they released him early. I think they knew Mannion was a placeholder all along. It does seem kind of a strange move, but in a way, I think maybe they did him a favor.
If we bring somebody in, it makes perfect sense. If we don't bring anybody in, then I'm confused.
Yeah.
Well, we did bring the guy. We already dumped him. Mannion got cut before the podcast.
No. I just mean if we don't bring in another wide receiver.
Oh, yeah. I think it's gonna be David Moore.
I like that pick, Johnny.
I like it.
Yeah, for sure. That's a good move. I just feel like, Pete always has that disguise in his speech a bit. Like he was saying Freddie Swain was outstanding. No, not Freddie Swain, but Hart was outstanding receiver all camp long, in the OTAs. And it was like he was setting him up for some, this is a good player. Get that message out because he knew in the back of his mind that this guy deserves a spot, but he doesn't have a spot here.
Was it Cason Williams, who's the UW receiver?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like that. I mean,
Seattle
he was
Dragons.
always talking a big game, and so were all the other players about him.
Yep.
The guy that he was great on the 50 balls, didn't create separation, but you just got to read between the lines. With my friend Danny O'Neill does that, deciphering Pete segment where like he's really good at you play Pete's press conferences and then he deciphers the double speak pretty
he's
well.
He's good at that.
Yeah,
sure. Offensive, defensive lines. Who do you guys like or don't like?
I love our depth at the defensive line. I mean, it really is the best since 2012, 13, 14, those years. But we haven't had that much depth. And I'm really not that. I mean, as long as we don't get an injury at defensive tackle, I think we're going to be I think you're going to see a slightly different scheme. I think I really think they're going to finally put their money where their mouth is with this 5 technique stuff. I think you're going to see Collier playing inside more, maybe even Rasheem Green, Kerry Hyder. I think we can move people around. I think we can keep them fresh. I think we can keep offenses guessing. Offensive line on paper, it looks great. I don't know what's going to happen at center. You know what I mean? Yeah. Posick has never made me feel really safe, but at least now we got good guards on both sides. That helps. But it's, I don't know. Is Fuller the starter? I don't know what the depth chart looks like. Is Fuller the starter or is Posick the starter?
Yeah. Posick's a starter. Okay. Yeah. They got him penciled in. And by the way, I'm with you on LJ Collier. I'd like to see him get on the field more, and I'd like them to figure out ways to get him on the field more. I want to give a lot of these guys that, an opportunity to make plays early in the season, so we see who we can trust.
Mm-hmm. And I trust Damian Lewis. That was a great pick last year.
Yep.
Absolutely. Let's see how he does with the adjustment to left. Some guys don't do it so well.
Right.
He said he hadn't even played. He played center last year for a game, I believe, and he said he had never played center in his life, not even in his youth.
We don't even have someone backing him up at left guard, so we'd have to move somebody over from another spot, and I'm not sure who that would be because we don't even have anybody backing him up, so we're banking on him. Mm-hmm. Banking on him.
Yeah, Haynes is gone. And, something you said a second ago, Ian, about wanting to see these younger guys play. I mean, we get a lot of – we being Seattle, I'm such a homer. We get a lot of guff for not having created very many impact players in our last 4 or 5 drafts. And so much of that is because people have been stuck behind veterans because Pete, who used to be all about letting the young guys play, has not been the same coach the last 5 years. I mean, it's been really hard for these guys to develop and get the reps they need. Mm-hmm. I think we started seeing it a little more last year because we were thin. You know what I mean? I thought Rasheem Green got a better chance and LJ Collier got a better chance to develop than they would have 2 years prior.
Yep.
Because some of these guys are probably unknown quantities because they just never even really got a chance to develop because they were stuck behind guys on their third contracts.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, and a lot of them have good pedigree, right? Played at a big school, played in front of big fans, big games, that kind of stuff. And I trust giving those guys opportunities because they've played in big games and they've played against a lot of these athletes that are the top draft picks and things like that for years in the SEC or other things, and so certain guys you look at, you come from smaller schools and you're like, oh man, we're counting on him. I don't know what the hell we're going to get. I mean, that guy's never seen anything like it, right? And he's in these preseason games and the game's moving so fast. And these guys in the SEC are looking around going, yo, I got a small crowd. You know what I mean? Like it's quiet, it's small. Like they're just used to, going up against a 375-pound dude who's fast, and so, the more we draft those guys and younger guys, I mean, get them in the game and let them play. I mean, I'm excited to see just around the league, like LSU's got so many receivers in the league now, like that are young and they're going to play on all these different teams. And, you want to see those guys. They're playing against the best talent. Alabama guys that are getting in the league, they're playing against the best talent every Saturday and, in a lot of great teams. And so, they tend to contribute when they come in. So, we look at some of our linemen and the ones that comes from big schools like that, like I trust them, I feel pretty good about them. So.
I think.
Well, that's Big Ten. I mean, I was a little surprised. I'm glad they kept Jamarco Jones. I think he's got potential. You know what I mean? I know he hasn't looked that good, but again, he had pedigree somewhat, not SEC, but Big Ten, and he seemed like he's a little undersized, but he seemed like a savvy guy. I had hopes for him. What did we draft him in the 2nd or 3rd round? I mean, he was when we were heavily investing our draft capital in linemen. He was one of our higher picks.
Right. Well, and we need him to start really contributing. I mean, the guy, he's a big cat. It's funny because, big now isn't big what it used to be, right? Like, here, you're talking about a dude who's a little over 300 pounds and, big now is 350, 360. But you start counting on these guys, they're 3-4 years in. I don't remember if this is the 3rd or 4th year, but you start counting on guys like that after they've been in the league a few years to start fucking contributing. Otherwise, it's just dead weight on your roster. And you're better off bringing somebody else in who has a chance to contribute and see if they can contribute,
Yeah, it's funny how it plays out that way. Like if you're a veteran and you can stick around in this league, you can be less talented and just be more of an asset to a team just because.
That's right.
What you said, reliability.
That brings up a question I have for you guys. A guy like that you talk about, John, is I've always thought is Nico Thorpe. Where is he right now?
Well, I think he cleared waivers. I don't think
was he even in camp though? Because I didn't hear his name.
Oh, he was in camp. Yeah, no, he got cut in the last round.
Hadn't heard his name mentioned at all. I always liked him. He's a
no. I'm thinking of Pierre Desir, huh? I don't remember. Wasn't Thorpe was on the 90-man roster or something? I thought. I don't remember. I thought he was. No, maybe I was thinking of Pierre Desir.
We'll have to figure it out. Are we feeling okay with Witherspoon and Trey Flowers as our starting corners?
No.
Nope.
I mean, we brought in
feeling
Sidney
good
Jones.
about that pass rush.
I know.
If as long as we got Diggs back there, and if Adams will play his position more, all those things can factor. We could be average in cornerback and still be a top 10 or even higher defense, but we have to excel in those other areas.
We're going to give up 20 points a game. And a lot of it's going to be the corners. I think DJ Reed's pretty good. Bringing in Sidney Jones was good. We got good looks at him with the Huskies for a while. He's not an earth shattering guy, but like he's a good, consistent corner for us. But man, please just stop with the Trey Flowers experiments. And we just keep going back to Trey Flowers and like
another player development gaffe, wasn't he a safety too?
Yeah,
I
don't safety.
Yeah, I don't like it a bit. I don't like it a bit. Just be done with it. Move on, rip the Band-Aid off, give somebody else a shot. If they can't do it, bring somebody else in. Like, we got to figure it out because we know what we have with Flowers, and he is a machine, just giving up catch after catch or PI. I mean, the guy's just a piece. I don't like him a bit.
I was all right with letting Griffin go. I don't think Griffin was worth the contract he got.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, we
100%.
got DJ Reed for 33% of what he did, and he outplayed him. I mean, whether you just the eye test or PFF,
I think Reed's good.
Whatever.
Absolutely. I think Reed is an up and comer. I think he's really good. I think he's in the mold of what we really want, but I'm just, man, the Trey Flowers thing, I'm going to scream at my TV. I'm going to throw the remote at it. It's going to be 3rd and 18 or 3rd and 12 or 3rd and 9. And no matter what it is, he's going to be 4 yards off. The guy's going to turn right at the sticks. He's going to make an easy catch and Flowers is going to be there to tackle him. And he's going to have a first, and I'm going to freak out.
Yeah. Or he's going to be right on him. The coverage is going to be good and he's just not going to turn his head.
Right.
I mean, you're just going to have 35-yard PI calls. One way or another, the ball's moving. I saw him several times in preseason where his coverage was good, but his ball awareness was – I think he was just so concentrating on sticking to this guy like a suit that like he didn't even think to look up for the football.
How many times you seen the guy trailing 3 steps on the slant across the middle? You're like, dude, I can't even take it. Like, it doesn't even have to be a good ball. Like at least if you're covering him, it's got to be a good ball in the right place. And with him, he's 3 steps behind. I mean, they're throwing, you can drop to a knee and catch it. You can square it up. Like
he's not even close enough to use his length. His length is his greatest asset. But if you're, if you're 3 strides behind, you don't even get to use it.
Yeah, it's painful, man. That's going to be our Achilles heel. I'm telling you, and it's just, it's painful. We got to hopefully be able to get a little depth across the league. But I do like DJ Reed. I think he'll surprise a lot of people. I think he's a lot better than people think.
And I'm sorry that it didn't work out with Quentin Dunbar because of injuries. Because had he played up to his potential last year and stayed on the roster, we'd be set right now.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel pretty good at slot.
Right.
We're only 1 corner short. And so in a way, I think we're probably being alarmist. I would rather see Witherspoon than Flowers. I'm sure you would too.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think if we can be average at cornerback, I think we're going to be, I still think we're going to, I agree with you. I think 20 points a game. I think we can score 30 and I think we give up 20. And I think we should, if it weren't for the cornerbacks, I think we could give up 16 or 17. I think this would be the best defense we've seen in Seattle in a long while.
Here's a thought.
Cornerbacks.
We have 5 safeties. Why aren't we pushing that player development on Ugo Amadi as a cornerback? Why isn't he a solution there?
Well, he looked like the solution at slot, and then he lost the job to Blair.
Yeah.
He's
a good player.
They like him on special teams. He's good depth. Yeah. You know what I mean? If something happens to Blair again, I don't feel terrible about Amadi in the slot. I think he plays pretty well. I mean,
he'd be fine.
Yeah. I mean, let's face it. Justin Coleman had a couple of great years, but he did well in our system. Once he was gone, he didn't. I mean, Justin Coleman didn't really impress anybody once he was.
It'd be nice to have. It'd be nice to have one real physical lockdown corner. I think everybody in the league would love to have that. It really makes your defense, especially the way we play, because then we could leave one side of the field a little more naked. We just don't have the right to. We just don't have the ability to do it now. Like we've said, hopefully Wagner, hopefully Jamal, hopefully Diggs. You know what I mean? Hopefully some of these other guys can can step up their play, and hopefully our D-line get a little pressure on the quarterback and make up for it. I mean, that's the trade-off. Our corners aren't going to be as good this year, and we need Reed. I mean, I'm telling you, we need Reed to really step up and be as good or better than we think he is, to be a solid crew back there. Otherwise, we'll be a sieve. If Reed struggles, if he struggles too, people spread us out all day and we'll be in trouble, man. And it'll be painful watching those 2-minute drills where they spread us out with 4 receivers and a back out of the backfield, and they just bang, bang, bang all the friggin' way down.
It would suck too if he's returning kicks and that's how he gets hurt, because he was pretty explosive kick returner last year when he got a couple opportunities. Mm-hmm. Hey, one guy that I'm super impressed with that we got off the streets is Ryan Neal. He came in and made some impactful plays and been pretty solid when Jamal Adams went down and such. Is he a possibility as a corner at all?
I don't think he's got the build to be a corner, does he?
It's kind of long.
I mean, he's almost more of a box safety to me. What do you think, Ian?
I think that off the top of my head, I'd be guessing, right? 190 pounds. So, his size probably fits corner better than it fits safety. But again, that's Pete's thing, right? And if we got a guy who's sitting there and he's buried in the depth chart behind some other guys and we have an opening, I would fully expect Pete to put him in there and give him a shot, because that's his thing. He's good with the corners. And, what do I know? I think his build is more like a corner than a safety. I don't think he's over 200 pounds. I think he's $190. I think, 6'2", 6'3" at the most. So, that being said, his body fits corner. Skill set, I don't know enough about it. And I trust Pete to get him going.
He has pretty good IQ. He knows where the ball is.
And what's Marquise? Where do we put Marquise Blair? About the same weight?
Yeah, but a little bit more dynamite right there for sure.
He's packing a little more gun.
Yeah, he reminds me a little bit of a Cam Chancellor 2.0.
Right.
Well, I don't know. I saw Ryan Wood laid some lumber. Ryan Neal's laid some lumber.
True.
Yeah.
I think he's got that too. That's why I think I said box safety, because I've seen him make 5 or 6 hits that I was like, man.
Yeah, I got Blair up here at $195, so they're about the same.
All right, last position, because we know that there was no competition with special teams on our kicker, punter, and long snapper. Linebackers.
Let's devote everything to talking about Tyler Ott, man, the next half hour. Let's talk about the long snapper.
We'll just get him on. We'll drill him. Going, when was the first day you bent over, Mr. Ott?
Yeah.
Swung it. We got Bobby Wagner, Jordan Brooks, who I really like, and Cody Barton. Bobby B-Wags is almost named my last dog after him. He's a stud. After Cam Chancellor, he's probably my second favorite player of all time on the Seahawks. I am a huge...
You noticed last year when we had Adams blitzing a lot, that it looked to me, and I'm not a coach, but it looked to me that it hurt Bobby Wagner worse than anybody. Yep. Because once he fought it seemed like Bobby wasn't being as aggressive. He was almost serving as a decoy.
We had to cover for him all the time.
For Adams' blitz. And so Adams was padding his stats. And like Ian said earlier, we desperately needed the pass rush then. And he was generating it. But I think it was at the expense of Wagner's play. I don't think it's so much that Wagner has lost a step, because I think his instinct to get sideline to sideline and to anticipate can make up for at least a half step. And we haven't talked about Jordan Brooks. I'm really excited about his development. He is fast, dude. I think he's going to be really good on the edge this year. Yeah, and how many times have the Rams and the 49ers killed us on the edge the last 3 weeks?
We have to be sure-handed with our tackling, the way we play defense. Our linebackers have to be able to tackle that running back on a dumper out the backfield or the single out, when they're running out there, just the way we play defense. We have to be sure-handed, and he's a tackling machine. He's got good speed. He gets to the ball. He tackles. That's why him and Wagner are going to be great for us. I'm really, really happy with that draft pick that we had. I think he's contributing hugely to our defense, and he is a pretty sure-handed tackler, and it's so critical for our defense to be able to do that by him and the corners, but really those linebackers especially. We count on them so much.
And Barton, not so much. I'm just not a huge Barton fan. I've seen him miss way too many tackles.
Yeah.
I've seen him looking just kind of lost at times. I see his quickness. I see the explosion. I see the quickness. but I just don't see the intuition or something and the tackling ability that I expected from him when we drafted him. I mean, we were very high on Cody Barton.
Let me make a
as
case.
high as we were on Jordan Brooks, really. I mean,
Right.
he was second or third round, right? I just remember a lot of talk about Cody Barton, and I don't.
I got to still make the case for my guy, KJ Wright. I miss him on this team immensely. He showed that he could play a different position. He could hold it down with two linebackers if we're going to play with two. He was the team MVP last year, even though Russell got some like NFL award for being the best Seahawk. The players thought he was the most valuable player last year.
My favorite Seahawk. He was my favorite Seahawk. I love KJ. I just like his personality.
Yes. So nice.
You know, one thing we learn about football is that like some of our gridiron idols are not always the greatest people. I mean, there's some great guys playing the game too, but like even some of the guys that we think are great, the next thing you know, you got video of them beating down the door. I mean, you take a lot of hits to the head, CTE,
right?
Steroids.
It's hard to compartmentalize your anger.
Yeah. KJ Wright, man, he was just so chill. He was like super sugar bear or something, man. I mean, he's just smile that lit up a room, super intelligent, just great teammate. I loved him. I hated to see him go.
And then let's make this case further. Both the last 2 years, statistically, playing time, minutes, tackles, all that stuff went up the last 2 years. ESPN, when they did the top 100, he was listed like 67th. But now he doesn't have a job. Is that just trying to get younger and save money or what? I don't understand why you have a guy that's the most productive he's ever been. He's been a longtime veteran, always been that guy that invites people to the team, no matter if you're there for a day, half a season, a game, whatever. He's one of the first, like Bobby is, to give you a call and say welcome. He never had that fear that somebody's going to take his job. And this year, he hasn't even got a sniff from a single one.
Hey, there's 32 teams that would love to have KJ Wright for $5 million. I mean, KJ Wright wants to do his family right one last time. Yeah. I mean, that's been that was the sticking point with us. It's a sticking point with Oakland and San Francisco and anyone else that's talked to him. And, you know, as fans, we want to say, come on, man, you already got $40 million. And like when I said I'm a bad negotiator, I'd do it, dude. I'd be playing on the.
Of course, get in there.
Well, I would be playing on the. I'd be playing on the minimum every year. It's like, what's the culture here? God, I just love my teammates. This is great. I'm too easy. But I mean, good for KJ. I think there's. I don't think that it is not. He's talked to 5 or 6 teams. It's just he wants. Yeah. You know, he wants.
It reinforces. It reinforces our opinion of his value when other teams aren't jumping to sign him for that. If we make a mistake and we let him walk out the door and 3 or 4 teams are lined up to sign him, then I feel like a real jackass, right? Mm-hmm. But we kind of have to make a stand on certain guys, and it's painful and it totally sucks. But you feel validated when no other teams are willing to step up and pay that same steep price. So then you wonder to yourself, okay, well, if nobody's willing to pay that steep price, at least yet, right? What is that little bit of a hometown discount so you're not moving and you already know the system and you can sign a 1-year deal and be awesome and then get your big deal next year, right?
Like, and be in the ring of probably retire in the Ring of Honor.
Right. I mean, so a lot of things to me point to, hey, dude, like at a certain point, like preseason's over, you know, nobody got hurt, like, can you reel him back in? Can you come back to us, right?
Yeah. What's the league look like after week 1 at linebacker? You know, I think that's where his golden ticket is. But
and he's got to have to learn a whole new system and be with a whole new team and move his family. And like, there's a lot to just comfort and being here and knowing the system and being with your teammates. And it's tough. But I mean, like you said, if we love Jordan Brooks, which we do, right? You know, maybe we can bring KJ back, but I mean, what are we paying him for per se?
I know you can't responsibly do that. If you're going to put your draft capital in his replacement, you can't.
Exactly.
What I liked is last year, I mean, when we moved him to the Leo and he performed so well.
Yeah.
I mean, I feel a lot better than that than Darrell Taylor playing Leo, a rookie who has very little experience in coverage.
Right.
I just think
very little. If any, I mean, the dude's 275 pounds or some shit.
I think he's 280.
280. Yeah, there you go. Right. I mean, the idea that guy's going to be able to cover people even close to how KJ Wright did is foolish. Now, I like the fact that he went to Tennessee, right? Going back to that same thing we were talking about, like playing good talent. But when you're that big, dude, you can't cover people. Like you're one dimensional being out there, and that's going to cause us problems on defense. It just is, you know. So in that sense, I would love to have him there, but what's the cost trade-off, right?
I think you need to take care of your family, though, and he's been part of the Seahawk family for a long time. So this exodus, kind of like Larry Fitzgerald's going through right now.
Yep.
You know, there's no swan song. There's no like, thank you for your services. It's, hey, go find a team. Don't find a team. I don't care. We're moving on.
Well, KJ's got to take care of his family too, which is why he wants $12 million instead of, you know, $5.6 million or whatever. You know what I mean? So,
yep.
But again, me, if I got 20 million in the bank or whatever, I'm like, I just want to be on the team. Come on.
Especially for 1 year. Like prove to the other teams that you're worth the 12. Nobody thinks you're worth that today, or somebody would sign you. Right. And if somebody gets hurt, they're not going to run and go, okay, we'll give you 12, or they would have already paid him 12. You know what I mean? Like, so it's going to be a tough one for him. I don't blame you for trying to get the money, but at a certain point, it becomes obvious you're not going to get it. So then what's the answer?
Yeah, right. I had a private talk that they didn't want him at all. Just said, hey, you know, this is the end. What best wishes? Always put in a good word with other teams for you. Do you think that happened, or it was just kind of the silent treatment?
I just think it was money.
Yeah, it's money.
Money is
the if Bobby Wagner goes down, he's the first phone call we make and offer him 10, 11 million bucks. right? Like, and that's kind of his insurance policy. Like we would be an emergency. He knows our system, but like other teams aren't going to pay him that to come in to learn a new system. And you know what I mean? And do that at least for a 1 year deal.
You know, Johnny, you talked about depth on this team. I think this is the one position that we may not have depth in and may need it, you know?
Well, we had lots of depth there last year. And remember when we started, there was even the year before when Pete's scheme idea, when we stopped playing the slot and we had our, we had the personnel on 70% of the time. We had 3 linebackers or whatever. That did not work out well either.
No.
I feel with Bobby Wagner and Jordan Brooks, I'm not
more
terribly worried about our depth there. I don't know. Are you worried about our depth at linebacker right now?
I'm just trying to make a case for KJ.
Yeah, look, and you're right, because the reality is what if, you know, what if we have injury? If we have injury, we're in trouble. If we don't have injury, we have no depth problem. But if one of our guys, if one of our guys gets hurt, we're in trouble.
Yeah. Then you got Barton playing middle linebacker.
You're relying on him. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right, guys. Appreciate you giving the preseason of the Seahawks another one. It was unfortunate last year that we dropped the call and didn't have a chance to record it.
That's the royal we, like you did. You just called us later. Oh, sorry, guys, I didn't record it. Come on. Your backside was exposed again.
Johnny, hey, you go on the record with 13 wins?
Ian's call drop, not mine.
You got to get Ian's prediction.
Yes.
Are you on the you're on the board for 13?
13-4.
13-4, Johnny.
I've been right every year but 2017.
Yep, I'm going 12 wins.
12-5.
Yep. I'm going 12 wins. I was going to, I thought about going 11 wins, but like you said, you look at the schedule, and if we win the games we should win, and maybe we're, as good as potentially we think without injury.
Well, in week 1, which looked like maybe a possible W, because Baltimore was pretty stout last year. But, if we're going against Jacob Evison or even Carson Wentz still learning a new system, I feel like, there's a couple swing games there that I feel better about. And I just know we always overachieve.
Yeah.
I mean, whatever you say about Pete Carroll, he's a terrible in-game manager. He's sometimes too smart for his own good. But Jesus, you can't say he's not good at getting people to overachieve, except for that one anomalous year in 2017 where there was all the grumbling, and that's the 1 year that screwed up my record. I take it as a personal affront. Otherwise, I'd be 8-8.
Sports betting's legal in Washington now, so you should. If the over/under for the Hawks is 10, if you're on 13, dude, that's a layup for you. I'd be laying a little coin on that.
Ian, I'm so dumb. I wouldn't even know how to do that. I wouldn't even know how to lay a bet online. It's amazing that I have these backgrounds. That's why I was showing off. That's the one thing I can do on my computer. So tell me how to do that. I do. I'm very confident. And I also think I'm also going to go on record saying that we go to at least the NFC Championship Series this year. I think so too. We have to.
Yeah.
And I think everyone knows it. And that's why Pete's compromising.
Yeah.
Russell's compromising.
Yeah. We're good enough.
Compromising. And I think it's two winners saying, you know what? we got to kind of meet here in the middle.
We have to stay healthy on defense because we're a little bit, like you were talking about, a little bit light in a few spots. Stay healthy, and I like it. How about you, Tim? Where are you going? What's your number?
11-6. Okay. Not as optimistic as you guys.
Well, all three of us are on the over, so that tells me let's bet the over 10. I'll lay it, and if we win, then next year the catering is on me during the podcast.
Awesome. Sounds like a deal to me. Yeah. You got anything else going on at si.com right now?
No, man, we're just plugging away. Everything's been good. I mean, we're just plugging away on all of our gambling content and our fantasy content and building a bunch of tools and stuff and just trying to keep it fun for everybody. There's, like I said, there's so much noise and everything now. It sucks a lot of the fun out. So we're just trying to do a lot of things that are fun. We'll run a lot of contests this year, weekly contests, that kind of stuff.
I don't know if it's pandemic or not, but I definitely don't see you guys as often as I'd like on the island.
That's right. Yeah, I hear you.
Always on the road. Johnny, tell us a little bit about your new book.
I got a book called Small World coming out from Dutton in January. It's just a big American epic. People that watch football don't care. Thanks, though.
And you had a war book out recently, too, right?
You can go to CenturyLink Field and wave my books around. You might find 3 people in there. It is just different crowd.
Yeah. I'm hoping to retire off a website I own, johnevison.com.
Oh, yeah. My mom might have it.
I'm hoping to peddle that website. Yeah, I'm hoping to peddle that website to the right person. So we'll see.
Yeah. I'd say you're not invested. Yeah, don't. If you believe that, I've got some signed first editions for you. I'll sell you.
Might get a paper cut.
Yeah.
All right, guys.
Thank you, Johnny. Thank you, Ian. I appreciate it.
Great catching up.
Yeah, man. Good to see you guys. Thanks, Tim, for having us on. Appreciate it every year. A lot of fun.
My pleasure. Take care. Say hi to the families and stay healthy.
Sounds good.
See you, fellas.
See you, Johnny.
Right, you've been listening to Bystander. Be kind.
Yep.